Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and The Lines, coming to you from the West Coast. Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we have player props for you on a Friday night slate here. A couple of game threes that will dive into these player props available for us. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page. Continue to follow along with us. We are bringing you a game video for each and every one of these playoff games here, as well as these player props videos. So definitely continue to follow along with us. Also want you to head to thelines.com. Make sure you're using that NBA player props tool we've got for you to shop those NBA player props correctly here tonight with all those odds makers available. And also want you to head to play.thelines.com. Go over there and get the opportunity to win a $25 Amazon gift card. Head over to that NBA Daily Pick'em Challenge. Get all of those correct, and we will send you that $25 gift card. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head over to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com. Find those listings in your area, such as what we've got for play props for tonight. Nate, let's get into it.
Yeah, Chris Paul is getting some serious value here to keep up his scoring barrage. I mean, 17.5 points is not the best odds at DraftKings. It's slightly better, minus 116 at FanDuel. I'm sure you can shop around, find some good lines for that. But I think we can go with 20 points for CP3. And you can parlay that with the win at FanDuel for plus 340, which is where I'm still seeing, I'm just like eyebrow raising odds. And then 25 points in the win plus 900. This is not extremely unlikely. He's averaging nearly 27 points per game in his last three in the playoffs here. He's shooting 75% from the floor. He gets better and better as the game wears on, 58%, then 61% in the second half, 64% in the fourth quarter, 71% in clutch time. And on the road with the Suns in the playoffs, his production has spiked. So it's not just to say like, oh, he went off in those first two home games. And he really didn't go off in the first home game, right? He kind of just chilled, orchestrated, coached on the floor, and still walked into 19 points on better than 50% shooting. This isn't, Jose Alvarado, and let's not get too ahead of ourselves in terms of talking about his career that just started, but he's a pesky, tough guy for Chris Paul to deal with, and he held him to 4 points. Since then, CP3 is averaging, again, 26 points per game and making every single shot. A couple of those games were against Alvarado still, but the point is the Mavs don't have anybody who's kind of like that in terms of just being low to the ground, quick and aggressive. Dorian Finney-Smith and Bullock have been the guys that Kid has tried to deploy on CP3, and they're just a little too tall and wide to deal with him. He has no issue shooting over anybody when he gets to his spot like that. He's just in complete control of the game right now, and I think he'll take over with scoring when he needs to, and I think he'll need to in a road game here, the way Luka's got the Mavs, competing, and they will compete at home.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. Chris Paul, the story of his career, really, if you look back pretty much all the way back to when he was a Pelican, is control the game in the third quarter, into the first three quarters, feed your guys. Fourth quarter, take over. Elbow jumper after elbow jumper, death by 1,000 cuts. And that's how he's always played. And now he's doing it at a better level than he's ever done it. I almost wish there was just a fourth quarter player prop. I haven't been able to necessarily find one yet for CP3 in these matchups. But yeah, there's no catching him by surprise with a Jose Alvarado type anymore, especially like you said, when they're throwing grizzled veteran defenders at him like Reggie Bullock at this point. And so, yeah, I think that and honestly, even Luka, who he's just continuing to just put in a blender.
Right. They hunted him down the stretch. That's the thing, is that you're getting a tired, exhausted Luka who is not a great, low to the ground defender. And yeah, that play you're talking about where CP3 had him totally turned around, hit a floater and one. And they're just, brimming with confidence after how they handled the Mavs down the stretch there.
It's pure excellence, man. Like, if you want to watch the best form of basketball, watch the Suns in the fourth quarter of any game with this roster for the rest of this playoffs. I'm going to move us along as we sit here and just kvel over Chris Paul the third, number 3. But move on to a guard on the other side of the ball in this game, Nate. We've got Dinwiddie, and it's time for, as J Kid said, for someone else to join the party for the Mavs. I only say Dinwiddie's a bet that I like in this one over, considering Brunson, because it's only at 11.5 points, which is great odds at minus 106 on FanDuel. He had 11 in game 2, which was better than the 8 that he had in game 1. But, we talked about this in the game video. What we're starting, the sort of starting point for us on why we go to Dinwiddie on top of the 11.5 measly points that he needs to get in this game is how much better he is at home. All right. Since he's joined the Mavs, 18 points a game, better than that at home, 13 a game. So, better, in short, better than 5 points more a game at home than on the road. Better splits as well, considerably, especially from 3, where he's shooting 45% at home since joining the Mavs. That usage rate goes up a bit as well. And I just think that, look, he was getting fewer minutes, but I mean, if kudos to Jason Kidd for the way he was sort of mixing lineups in this last one. He obviously didn't feel comfortable putting Dinwiddie in a matchup where, he really wasn't showing much on defense, and he chose to go with other guys. But I mean, at home with the way that Dinwiddie's been playing, I think Kidd has one sort of that Dinwiddie is sort of not necessarily an ace up his sleeve, but it's another card he can play that he has yet to really throw, which is keep Dinwiddie in there in a 3-guard lineup for more minutes with these guys. And I think that's one trick that he still has to employ, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, this series got smaller and smaller in game 2 with some head-scratching lineup decisions from both sides. Ayton barely played, Dorian Finney-Smith barely played, and yeah, Kidd's going to have to try some things to get offense. And Dinwiddie has been much better on offense at home since joining the Mavs, averaging 5 more points per game, shooting 52% from the floor, 45% from 3, and getting more usage because he's been so much more productive. So yeah, for him to get 12 points, I feel like we'll walk into that one. As they always say, the role players play better when the series moves back home. Yep. And Jimmy Butler, I expect to play just as well with the series transitioning to Philly. He is a guy who loves to play the heel, who loves to stick it to a crowd that maybe he did not totally enjoy while he was playing in Philadelphia, because few Philadelphia sports players ever enjoy being in that city with the world's worst fans. But Jimmy, who in 2 road games at Atlanta, 38 points, rebounds, assists, 50 points, rebounds, assists, had a game in there with 8 dimes. This was what I tried to call in game 3 as that series went. 8 dimes in a win was like plus 820, and that was the game Trae Young hit a floater and they lost by 1. Jimmy did have 8 dimes. 8 dimes in a win again here, plus 540, worth a thought here. But really the safe bet is 34.5 points, rebounds, assists, because Jimmy's going to do it all over the floor. He predictably bounced back from an off night in game 1 with 22 points, 12 assists, as the Heat bounced back, shooting way better from 3, 14 for 29 in that game 2. They're averaging the 7th most assists per game on the road this season is Miami. They had that 25 assists in game 2 on 40 made field goals, and they're just truly a connected team with Jimmy distributing. With Kyle Lowry out, he's kind of that point forward, and he's going to continue to dime people up while also piling up the other stats against a Philly team that could kind of just quit, if with Embiid ruled out, if things are getting worse in the second half. So, I mean, I hope it's not a blowout so that you can get Jimmy out there for all 4 quarters, but yeah, it is a little scary.
I could see a blowout. I mean, honestly, like, who do you think hates playing in front of Philadelphia fans more, the visiting team or its own players? And like, if this game is double digits in the first quarter, you think we're not going to hear boos? We're talking about the people that booed Santa Claus. So yeah, obviously, I'm not even a Celtics fan, and I know how bad this is objectivity saying like this. Philly fans are going to be brutal. Harden is not someone that they're going to be forgiving to, as nobody in the country is right now after you go to 3 different teams in less than a calendar year or whatever. But at any rate, yeah, I think Jimmy is a good bet in this one. Honestly, my favorite bet in this game is for the Heat to crush the 76ers and break their will entirely, and then bring home the sweep. But Jimmy to have a ton of stats in that 8 assists in the win at plus 540. Why not sprinkle a bunch in there as you talk about how many assists they get on the road as a team, etc. So yeah, I like that bet. And the last bet I'm going to throw out there for tonight is Tyrese Maxey on the other side of the ball. He scored plenty of points in this series already. They still haven't won a game, so I think that's likely to happen again. His points 21.5 tonight, minus 120 on FanDuel. Not bad on DK if you just go up a point though. 22.5 points, minus 105 on DraftKings. If he goes 25 plus, you're talking about plus 154. I was going to say before I read that to you guys, I do like an adjusted line for Maxey as he continues to be the guy that they look for on offense, who is the only one really that can break anybody down off the dribble in a one-on-one matchup. And they're going to let him continue to do that because they're not going to let James Harden beat them, even if it's not the same James Harden that we remember from 5 years ago. They're still not going to let him beat them. They're just going to be happy with the Rook getting his, because he's still not necessarily going to be able to get others involved, which is why we still haven't given you a points and assist prop for Maxey in this series, because we don't like it against this defense who chooses exactly what they want you to do. If you score with a certain player, 90% of the time is because the Heat were like, this is the only thing we're going to give up on this play is this, and you've seen it with Maxey. And also he plays better at home. Once again, we're back to somewhat of a role player. The two main things for Maxey that we come back to is Embiid's not here, and now he's coming back home. In game 2, coming off of that 34-point performance and including 9 of 11 from the free throw line, which is very impressive. But like I was saying, his numbers without Embiid in the last 5, 28 a game, 4 assists. We're talking 54% from the field, and those free throws, 7 free throws a game when the big man's not in there. That's their offense, is go ahead, Maxey, get yours and get to the rim. And he's unbelievably great at finishing around the rim, sick layup package. But yeah, even in this playoffs, averaging about 3.5 more points per game at home, which is at 24 points, by the way, per game at home in these playoffs. So 21.5 is way too low. 22.5 feels pretty right. If you feel a little bit frisky, as I do, I feel great about it. He's going to be in there in the end, no matter what, even if they're down, 20 with 7 minutes to go. I see Tyrese Maxey getting those playoff minutes still, as he played 43 in this last one. So with a high usage and all those, all those minutes, as well as the only guy, once again, that can break you down off the dribble one-on-one with his quickness, I do like Maxey's points tonight.
Yeah, and you got to like the officials to give the Sixers a little bit of a lift in a 2-0 spot, trying to extend some of these series. We have two.
Scott Foster.
I don't know who's assigned yet to the game. We'll find out Friday morning. But yeah, it wouldn't be a shocker, although the Heat are not really a team that Scott Foster is going to rule against too often. He kind of is the superstar queller. But Miami is a team that has fouled a lot. And that's why, you look at the free throw attempts per game and Maxey getting 11 in game 2. And that makes you feel really good about a nice base in terms of his points, even if he isn't shooting particularly well. But yeah, the Sixers play with more pace in these playoffs. They've actually looked great in a couple of home games. Game 1, game 6 against, that was a road game actually, but they have looked great in a couple of home games, mainly the first 2 home games against Toronto. And Maxey was kind of just shot out of cannon in those games. So looking for him to bring the energy as they go back home here.
Yeah, and I mean, even the one home game that they did give up to the Raptors, that was really just a case of a couple of things: the getting out coached, being soft mentally. By the way, honestly, like the Raptors being incredibly tough willed, and yeah, they'll be a little bit better at home. Definitely got to consider, once again, got to just say it, run of the mill disclaimer here: if a team is down 2-0 and they're coming back home, go ahead and take their spread in the first quarter. It's just how it goes, man. They're a team playing for their lives, and they're good enough to win a quarter for sure against the Heat here. So that is all the time we have for you in this one. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page. Continue to follow along with us, as we love to bring you these game videos as well as these player props during these playoffs. And until we see you next, happy betting.